Welcome to the Cricket 8 podcast. I'm Jarrod Kimber. With me is Machel St. Patrick Hewitt of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. And I don't know if you're a Bromley football fan. Maybe you've also read. In fact, if you're a Bromley football fan, you probably have read his stuff because there's like 3 Bromley football writers ever in existence. So chances are you have come across Mash that way. We just watched 8 hours of cricket across the 2 watch-alongs. We've already done the earlier podcast, but we're going to do this one as well in a game that, let's be honest, Mumbai have absolutely stolen. Probably, I'm going to say twice. I'm going to say they stole it from, you gave me the numbers, and I've got them here. 66 runs from 48 balls required with whatever it was, 7 wickets in hand or 6 wickets in hand. They stole it from that position, but they also stole it from when Bumrah's second last over got hit for 2 fours, and Delhi were back into favoritism again, and then they had 3 runouts in 3 balls to finish the game. It was the grand Mumbai heist.
Most definitely. Do you know what? Until you mentioned that just now about the run out hat trick, I forgot that the equation prior to the hat trick was 15 from 8, and inexplicably the match was over before we even got to the final over.
I reckon it was 15 point from 9, wasn't it?
Was it from 9?
The last 3 balls that over. Yeah, I think it was even more.
15
he
from
hit the
9,
2 boundaries, and then he hit the 2. He hit what he thought was 2, was only 1. And so if he gets back for that 2, Delhi are probably about 160 to win the game from then on in, because they got rid of most of Bumrah's balls, and Bumrah wasn't even bowling that well.
Yeah, and it's a weird. How many times? I'm sure someone's got the stats for me, but how many times can you say that Mumbai won a game where they defended 200 plus and Bumrah didn't have a good game? And there'll be games, but there won't be many where he's played and not really affected the game. In fact, the 1 wicket that he got, you could argue that was even one of his worst balls in the match.
I don't know if Varun ever had a chance of looking it up, but it was an absolute dog ordinary ball. It's a full toss down the leg side. If that has an expected average of under 170, right, I'd be shocked. Right, he just did not have a good game. Karan Nair went for him. Akshar Patel hit him for a boundary. Should have hit him for another boundary when he was out. And then Smashatosh hit him for 2 boundaries in a row. And what a remarkable thing. Let's just go back to the start, because this really is a fascinating game. Mumbai are now 2-4. So that puts them within touching distance of the playoffs without really being all that close. But if they go on a run now, there's certainly something to be said for that. And Delhi have lost their first game. Delhi is still on top. Don't look any points table that doesn't have Delhi on top. Send a strongly worded email, because Delhi have played 5 games. They've won 4 of them and lost 1. They cannot be beneath Gujarat Titans, who have played 6 games, won 4 and lost 2. In fact, loss totals are more important than win totals when it comes to these things. But that's a different conversation. Anyway, Mumbai are now within touching distance. If we go back to the start, they actually started their innings quite quick. Rickleton and Rohit got off to a decent start. Rohit was out fairly early on. Rickleton struggled with the spin, but they did get stuck in the middle. And I don't mean stuck in the terms of like we saw with the Rajasthan game or anything like that, but just they never got the big overs, did they? They had one off Mohit Sharma, sorry. Yeah. And outside of that, we kept saying they get a boundary every over, but they're not getting 2 and 3 every over, which is what they should be doing on a wicket like this.
Yeah, and I mean, even at the end when they, so what, like say 206, 205, 206, right? 205, they never, I kept thinking, but they've left runs out there. They've left runs out there. And Tilak, who had the standout, well, did he have the standout innings? Because maybe actually it's Deer had the standout innings. But Tilak scored, 59 from 32. But his last 12 balls, I was writing this stat down, his last 12 balls before he got out, I think he scored 16. So even he slowed down at some point in time. And I think it was only when Namandir hit, like he had a kind of late order hitting that really took them above the 200. And obviously there was good bowling from Vipraj, the young spinner, and obviously Kuldeep Yadav, who's almost like a cheat code in and of himself for Delhi. So at the halfway point, having seen, and it's a weird innings, Jarrod, because you've got Rickleton, who hits 41 from 25, Sky hits 40 from 28, Tilak hits 59 from 32. I don't actually have Namandir's numbers. I think his was like he actually went over 200 strike rate. But the
He
top,
did, and he had a 6 stolen off him, didn't he? An incredible catch, save / drop, if that makes sense, down on the boundary, and he made 38 off 17. So
there you go. Right.
I mean, you're right. You're 100% correct on this. Just to say, Rajendra's put a message up going, Mumbai had lost the last 2 matches by 12 runs, and then they won this one by 12 runs. So I'm assuming they're going to win their next game by 12 runs. We'll talk to Rob Barron to see if there's a good bet there. But we were, I wouldn't say we were harsh, but I think, well, as you know, I kept my money on Delhi. I was very sure that there was a lot more runs in this wicket, which, to be fair, Delhi went out of their way to prove I was wrong by the end. But at the start, I was completely justified by that because the ball was coming onto the bat perfectly. They were smashing the ball everywhere. And you have a look at Karan Nair, who hasn't really played for a long time in the IPL, hadn't been successful in the last 3 or 4 years when he had played, or hadn't made any runs. We know he's in this new part of purple patch of form. There's purple patches of form, Mash, and there's what we saw today. That was some of the best batting I've seen. He was technically correct when he needed to be and just played through the line on the offside. One of the early cover drives, I remember almost cooing over it on air. He showed intent all the way through. He never backed off. There was no moment where he wasn't looking for boundaries. He improvised when they put the field back to be able to do that. And he was willing to slog to break the game completely, right? He just went again and again and putting themselves into a great position. And at that stage, I think Delhi were like 111. They were almost unbackable odds at that point. They had shortened so much. And it really was a fantastic innings from someone who, if you're not following domestic cricket in India over the last 6 months, Karan Nair is basically known for making a 100 against England and then never being seen again in Test cricket.
Yeah, and there's been so much kind of. So I think I remember that prior to, was it the Champions Trophy? There was a lot written about should he be in the team? Should he be in the team? I think Mega and I even did a podcast where I asked Mega what's the justification for getting him in the team, and we discussed it, etc. And now, actually, I look at the Delhi team and I'm like, how do they leave him out for the next game? And I'm sure Delhi
how do they ever leave him out again?
Well, yeah. And I'm sure Delhi Capital fans will look at their top 7, who up till now, let's not try and paint this as any big... I mean, it's a catastrophic defeat in the context of they should have won the game, but they're having a very good season, right? So I look at Jake Fraser-McCurk's struggles, and maybe we should discuss his first ball dismissal. Faf will obviously come back, but how do they get Nair in the team?
Well, I mean, look, I suppose they can use him as the impact sub for a little while.
True.
I think the bigger issue is Abhishek Paral keeps getting 30s and isn't quite going on the way that they would want. Jake Fraser-McCurk obviously is going to have to be replaced. They can't play him again. You've got KL Roll who's been in a much different form. I'm not so worried. I saw someone in the comments blaming him for the loss. Like, you can't blame one random middle order player for the loss. That doesn't make any sense. Akshar Patel is still not a specialist batter. He's very good at what he does. Tristan Stubbs, as you said on air, is a bad starter. And Ashutosh, you really want Ashutosh in for the last 4 overs. And then they've got a couple of bowlers who can hit. Maybe one of them can become an all-round, or maybe Nigam can become an all-rounder one day. It isn't the most solid lineup. And as you know, I had my bet on Delhi, and I took it off at about the 12th over mark, right? Because I wasn't that confident with it. They've won 4 games and lost 1. But the minute they started to lose wickets, we did feel very different about this side. And they've had a great run so far in the year, and no one's having a go at them for that. But there are concerns that probably showed up a little bit in this loss. There's not much we can do about that. It's just that the truth is that once they lost wickets, none of us felt that confident. And in the end, we were all proved right. Yeah.
And maybe to the other sides in the IPL, they look at the collapse and they say, there's a chink in the armor. Maybe Delhi got out in front in the league, but actually it's a bit of a misnomer in terms of 4 wins from 4. And if you dig a bit deeper into the games that they have won, maybe there's more question marks about setup of the side. And I think in all sports, the saying goes that you learn more about your side, obviously, or what will they learn about their side now that they've lost a game? Will they be prepared to make difficult decisions going forward from here? And the interesting thing is that, okay, yes, Bumrah, and obviously, yes, Trent Bolt, etc. You spoke on there about how you didn't think that Deepak Chahal had been swinging it this season, but then he did with the first over. Then Bolt didn't swing it, but then Bolt came back at the end and was very good. So there's a lot of things where I just look at Mumbai's team, I look at Delhi's team, and I'm like, on paper, I'm more confident in Delhi's side, but then I also hadn't seen Delhi lose yet. And now I've seen them lose in the way they've lost. I'm like, hold a minute. Is this misplaced confidence? And actually, do they have more chinks in their armor?
And the other way of looking at this is if Akshar doesn't go out to a freak dismissal, right?
Yes, true.
And he bats for another 10 minutes, they're 5-0. But the same question mark should have been there, which is, how many wickets do you need to put pressure on them? And, you know, some of this will be fixed by Jake Fraser McGurk. I see someone in the comment saying, I can't remember where it is. Someone was saying in the comment that that Karan could open the batting, right? I don't think it's a problem of whether they can open the batting. It's trying to find another, there it is, laughing at nothing says that. It's trying to find another batter that comes in that can still back them up. Like, it's not, they're still, they feel like they're a batter short no matter what, whether you look at their squad or everything else. So there's an issue there. Just want to talk about Khan Sharma. Again, we're talking about someone who we haven't put a lot of thought into. He hasn't played yet this year. They've been using their young left-arm wrist spinner, who we thought they were a chance of bringing on today. They went with Khan Sharma, which I think, looking at this wicket, although by the end of it, most of them would have been good. But looking at this wicket, I actually thought he was the better suited leg spinner to this kind of surface. That sort of push it through leg spinner a little bit more. He's ended up with 3 for 36. He had a drop catch, which was almost a run out. He had another drop catch that Will Jacks had early on that could have changed the game a lot more. Well done for him for, you know, keeping his nerve and playing as well as he did, because they were trying to end the game when he was bowling, and they very nearly did.
Yeah, most definitely. And they targeted him. They clearly had targeted him and said, right, he's the weakest bowler. Let's get after him. For Mumbai, I mean, they'll look at him now, and I presume that now they'll have confidence in him when they get another surface like that, where maybe the pacers aren't really getting any rewards on it, where they need to turn to somebody who can, a spin bowler who can have an effect on the game. Sharma's now put himself in the conversation for Mumbai, as in, you can trust me, you can turn to me. But do you know what? When I was looking back through my notes, and you're right about his impact on the game, there was another drop. And there's so many ifs and buts, etc. But I kept this one down in my notes. In Mumbai's innings, Tilak was dropped on 22. And that's when Viprad was bowling. It's when Stubbs and McGurk.
Oh, my God. If you haven't seen this drop, it's worth having a look at it. The two fielders freaked each other out. And then in the end, Stubbs was like, oh, I better go for this catch. And I remember, I thought he punched it over the boundary. He didn't. Yeah. He barely touched it with his fingers. It dribbled over the boundary.
Yeah, and so there's just moments like that where I'm like, so if Tilak had gone earlier, does that set the game up for Delhi? But then you could, I'm sure Mumbai fans will look at there was drops in the Delhi innings. So I'm sure they were like, yeah, but if this catch had been taken, then maybe it would have been easier. I've written down a Mumbai drop, and I'm trying to remember who dropped it. It was something straightforward. That was, or not straightforward, but there was a drop from the Mumbai perspective as well. So listen, obviously Mumbai fans are going to now feel that this gets their tournament underway. Earlier in the week, I asked Mega if Mumbai can come back from 1-4 to make the postseason. And we had I think you and I discussed it before the game. When you have Jasprit Bumrah, anything you assume is possible. Well, they've just won this game with, as I said at the top, without Bumrah even really affecting it. So now, if they needed that kind of jump start to say, okay, this season's not over for us as a franchise, well, this is one way to show it. Win a game, defend 205 without Bumrah really having an impact on it. sets things up. But I do think, Jarrod, there are still some questions.
No, definitely. I think if you are Mumbai at the moment, this is what I would be thinking. We've won the game against the team who hadn't lost yet without playing well. As an analyst, that's the sort of thing I would say. We can play better than this. We know we can play better than this. So we should now be pretty confident going ahead that we can find a little bit more form. And, Sky's obviously seeing the ball quite well. Tilak batted quite well. Namindar, as we said before. Rickleton looked better today. Maybe none of them went on to win the game, but they all looked like at various times they were in decent touch. Maybe Sky was the only one, but he's been in good form for the rest of it. You look at Mumbai, they've got the Sunrisers coming up, right? Well, that's a game that you want to play. Then they've got CSK and then the Sunrisers again. Their next 3 games are very winnable. It is very possible over their next 3 games that they could be, what are they? 5-4.
Yeah.
Right? Now, let's say one of those is going to be away at least, and I don't have the home and away ones in front of me. But let's say they lose one of those. They're still 4-5. Right. Yeah. And at that stage, Bumrah's played a little bit more cricket. He still looks a little bit rusty at times to me there. So that's fine. Delhi, on the other hand, Delhi have another game, I think, very soon, don't they? On the 16th. So Delhi have Rajasthan on the 16th, then Gujarat, then LSG. So if you look at the table as it currently is, which is, and the table is form based, right? The Rajasthan game is easy. So their next game, they would hopefully be 5-1, right? Which should be guaranteeing you playoffs. But then we get a really good look at them after that. We have Gujarat, Lucknow, RCB, KKR, all in a row, right? Those are all teams that should be playing for playoffs when they're playing against them in the heart of their season. So we will know a lot more in 5 games' time where they are. Whereas in Mumbai, I still think there's plenty to like about Mumbai's team, and I don't think they're playing particularly good cricket at the moment. So when I see a situation like that, I think eventually form will flip and will come around. And they were a bee's dick away from being 1-5, right?
Yep.
And now they're 2-4. They're in the game. When you win a game, we haven't even talked about the hat trick at the end. What an extraordinary moment. 15 off 9. So they needed 66 off 48. The ball was changed. There was a little bit more spin. There was maybe 2 deliveries that were down to that. But realistically, there was a bunch of other deliveries that didn't have much to do with that. And there were still lots of 4s and 6s being hit at that stage. They get it down to 15 needed off 9 with Ashutosh at one end and Mitchell Stark at the other end. And then we see 3 consecutive runouts at the second. So twice in the game, Mumbai had given up a massive advantage and let back in to be favourites. And then this time they stole it away without Bumrah bowling well, with 3 runouts in a row. And frankly, I think it's shocking that I didn't lose my voice.
Listen, as I said, if you want a sign for your franchise and your team to believe, okay, the gods are now, if that we use that phrase, the gods are now shining on us. Luck is now with us, because Mumbai will feel that there would have been games earlier this season when they were in 1-4, but they're like, how did we lose? We didn't even play that badly. Well, actually, you didn't really play that well in this game, and you've managed to now win. So you seize the momentum whilst you can. I don't think we'll see a run-out hat-trick again for the rest of this year's IPL. So you have to take that as a unique set of circumstances. You make your own luck, but you take it as a unique set of circumstances and kick on. So for those watching and those who like a flutter, maybe get all in on Mumbai. Maybe this is the start of their comeback story.
Oh my God. Now, you know what you've done? I was just about to close out the podcast, and you know what you've done now? You've made me go and have a look at what are you saying, to win it or to make the finals?
I was just thinking to make the postseason. So to just make the next stage. I don't know if you can
get Mumbai. Yeah, you can get Mumbai at around 3s to make the top 4. You can get them at 4.5 to make the final. And you can get them at 8.6 to win it. And if I'm listening to what Mash is really saying, he's saying, wrong button. He's saying 8.6 to win the final. And let's see how Mumbai go from there. Anyway, he'll be back later this week with Mega. Me and Rob will be back on the weekend. We're celebrating Easter with you with another double header. I'm about 19 hours into this recording, but a huge shout out to the 100-meter Ethernet cable I'm running from my house, which actually meant that I didn't lose the internet once or even get shaky a little bit. So big thanks out to anyone who's ever involved with Cat 8 technology of Ethernet cables, because it's much better than Cat 6, Mash. If there's anything I want to leave you with today, it's that one fact. That is Mash St. Patrick Hewitt. You can find him on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You can find him on Cricket 8. You can find him just in the streets of Bromley. I'm Jarrod Kimber. I'm pretty much everywhere, and we will see you again very soon for more Cricket 8 goodness. Remember to support us by subscribing and sharing, but also signing up at cricket8.com, where live scorecards cover 8,000 matches a year with advanced visual details that tell you who is actually in front in the game.